Formula 1 is a very technical sport indeed. So here at GPFans, we thought we'd bring some perhaps new fans to F1 a little guide to some of the terms that are used in the sport. Let's start with an easy one, the formation lap. A formation lap is the lap that drivers complete before the start of a race before reappearing on the grid in the correct starting position. This lap, also known as a warm-up lap, gives drivers the chance to check if everything is working and okay, how the track is, and to warm up the tyres before the start of the race. 107% rule. All drivers must set a lap time on the board in the first qualifying session, or Q1, within 107% of the fastest lap time in Q3. Drivers who fail to do this will in fact not be allowed to participate in the race. Under certain circumstances, for example, if a driver has completed a lap that was fast enough during one of the practices, the stewards may decide to let the driver participate. The outlap. The outlap is the first lap a driver completes after leaving the pit lane, for example, after a pit stop during the race, or if the driver drives out of the garage during qualifying. During a race, this lap, like the rest of the laps, is run as fast as possible. During qualifying though, this is often a slow lap in order to get the brakes and tyres up to the right temperature. A hot lap. A hot lap is the fast lap that a driver completes during qualifying after his outlap. The objective here is to always set the fastest possible lap time in order to secure the best possible starting spot on the grid. That brings us to the in-lap. The in-lap is a lap a driver completes before they enter the pit lane. During the race, the driver wants this to be as fast as possible because they don't want to lose as much time as possible when it comes to their pit stop and of course during the tyre change. However, during qualifying, this lap is often a slow one to cool the brakes and tyres. Tear-off strips. Tear-off strips are the clear plastic strips that drivers stick to their visor on their helmet before they start the race. When these get dirty, the drivers rip them off so that they can have a clean visor again. Ride height. The height between the floor of the car and the surface of the track. Drag is the aerodynamic air resistance experienced by a Formula 1 car as it moves forward. Teams try to make this resistance as small as possible in order to achieve a higher top speed. However, it can also come at the expense of cornering grip, so a good balance here is very important indeed. Brake test. You may have experienced a brake test yourself on the public road. This is when a driver suddenly decelerates or brakes for no apparent reason, causing the car to unexpectedly slow down. The following driver often has to react quickly to avoid contact. Slipstream. A slipstream is when a driver drives within a certain distance of the car in front, allowing him to drive under the rear wing of the driver in front of him, as it were. As a result, it suffers from less drag and air resistance, which can result in a higher top speed. ERS system. ERS stands for Energy Recovery System. Broadly speaking, this ensures that the heat from the exhaust gases and the kinetic energy from the brakes is captured, which can then be converted into extra power. This is done, among other things, on the basis of the MGU-H and MGU-K. Drivers often use this on straights and save this in corners. This means they are able to keep cars behind them and reduce the effect of DRS. MGU-H. The MGU-H and the MGU-K are part of the ERS system, as we mentioned above. The H of the MGU-H stands for heat. The exhaust gases that are released when the turbo is used can be converted by the MGU-H into electricity. The electricity released can then be used for extra power and to adjust the turbo speed. MGU-K. The K in MGU-K stands for kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is released when a car is under braking. This energy is collected and converted into extra electricity by the MGU-K. This energy is then stored in the energy store or battery on the car and can be used for defending or providing a little bit of extra power and limiting a driver's DRS behind them. Understeer. When a car understeers, the car tends to slide over the front wheels. When entering a bend, the front wheels lose traction while the rear wheels maintain that traction. As a result, the rear of the car pushes the front out and away from the corner. As a result of this, a driver can turn in much less sharply than he wants to, and in the worst cases, he shoots his nose off the track. Understeer can also occur as a result of stepping on the throttle too early. The front wheels can no longer handle the bend at the speed and lose grip. Oversteer. Oversteer is the direct opposite of understeer. This time the rear tyres lose the traction earlier than the front tyres and the car starts to slide at the rear. Because the front tyres do have the traction, the front of the car pulls in too much and the rear starts to slide away. Then you can see the car braking out, as it's so called. This can often still be absorbed by drivers, but is a little bit of a shock to the system. The car goes through oversteer, sometimes obliquely, and drifting through the bend. So those are some of the words in Formula 1 that you need to know to perhaps understand a racing weekend. We will have more of those throughout the season to make sure that the newbies to the sport are well up to date. If you want to stay up to date with everything, get onto gpfans.com.